Now seating table 117 with Nicole Dambro.
Welcome to the chaos.
What up, everybody?
What up?
And welcome back to the chaos.
Just jump right into it.
As we always do. What's going on, Danny?
What's going on, Mikey? How you doing?
I'm doing fucking great. How are you?
It's a good day.
It's a good day. We have a lovely soul of an individual sitting across from us in the hot seat right now.
One of my favorite people in the entire world. One of the best, most high energy workers I've ever been with and had the pleasure of bartending with.
And a complete sweetheart, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nicole Dambro. How are you?
Oh, guys, I'm so excited to be here. Hi.
We got a lot with you we could talk about. You've definitely had an interesting journey over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get right into it. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, how your nightlife journey started, how you kind of got to where you are now, where your nightlife journey kind of took you, and then we'll proceed into where you are now, because you're doing some really cool things.
Yeah, I've always got a ton of eggs in different baskets. That's just diversify and conquer. That's pretty much how I operate, much like you guys. Right.
That wasn't a mindset before, though.
No. Me and Danny are very new to that mindset. But
Yeah.
Well, welcome to it, guys.
My baskets are few and they're all like fucked up. They're getting better.
Well, the eggs are fragile, right?
Yeah.
a little
Eggs
bit,
are fragile.
A little bit.
Scrambled eggs.
We got to work towards the hard-boiled. That's what we're going towards. But yeah, so I'm an actress in Los Angeles. I'm also a retired professional dancer in Miami. I used to dance for the Miami Heat during the LeBron years, Big Three. So that was awesome. Yeah, now I have my own podcast, as you know, called Girls with Guts, or What's Left of Them. And I also am a finance writer. So I work for a finance company doing all of their digital marketing.
Wow.
A lot of different things. But in regards to my nightlife journey, that began, I believe, because I grew up in a small town in a very sheltered family. So I mean, like, as a senior in high school, my curfew was 11 o'clock p.m. because that was the legal curfew, and that's what my mom said.
Where'd you grow up?
Oh, I'm from Vero Beach, Florida. So it's an island town off the East Coast, about an hour north of West Palm. And we had bars. We have bars there. Everything closed by midnight, though. It was very small, which was great because we all knew each other well, and like we had great parties growing up, but I had to leave at 11 just as everyone was pretty much getting there. So as soon as I went off to college, which I went to the University of Florida, go Gators, I found the nightclubs and I was just like, oh, it's a dance party. I must work here. I want to get paid to work at a party. Right? I think that's how a lot of us kind of start off.
Worst idea. Be careful what you wish for.
I know. So, I mean, I just kind of worked my way up in the small college nightclub scene, which isn't as big as the bar scene. I did like shot girl stuff. I had like a shopping cart at one that had a beer bong, and you could pay me to beer bong you at the like club.
I've never seen that one before.
No, that's
different.
That's some hood
Yeah.
shit right there, boy.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, if I was 18 and a cute girl came up to me with a beer bong for $12, I'm like, yo, I'm in.
I'd be
Take
drunk
my
as
money.
shit.
Yeah, I would just drink from you all night.
Yeah.
It was a
I'd
good
follow
time.
you around with that shopping cart.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it
I'd
was
be sitting in
it
the
was
little baby
fun.
part in the front.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't be able to get rid of me.
I don't recommend it. I mean, just like COVID stuff now, thinking about how I did not disinfect it after everyone who used it. Like, there's no way.
I mean, let's move past disinfectants. There was way worse shit we have all put into
Yes.
our bodies and consumed and done that
Yes.
makes COVID not even a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how we survived.
I don't know how we survived, dude.
I don't either. Looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, so I mean, I did all that, and then Gainesville would essentially shut down during the summer. So I would leave and get jobs in other cities. So my sophomore year, I moved down to Miami for the summer, stayed with a friend, and through another friend, I was able to get a job bartending. And the guy who hired me wanted to train capable people from scratch because he was sick of like bad bartender habits. So he taught me how to do a pour test, locked me in a room, and blasted techno music until my pour tests were on point with every song that he changed, which took a few hours. And then
That's aggressive.
Yeah, it was aggressive, but so effective because he was like, we're going to be playing everything you're not going to be able to hear. And you got to be able to, like, we only care about you getting the alcohol correct. You
Whoever
know?
that is, I want to give him a shout out because when I started bartending with you, one of the things I noticed is how fast you pour and just how on point you are behind the bar. So well done,
Thanks.
sir.
Yeah,
Your methods
thanks.
work.
Yes, he taught me how to pour and properly hold the spout and spray a gun at the same time. So if you want vodka sodas all day, I got you all day.
People don't realize, like, bartending, it's an actual art form.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
there's a lot of technique
Yeah,
involved.
there's a lot of technique, and like when you get to certain levels, even when you get to the flair bartending, where like I'm sure you can do it, and you, Danny, I'm sure you can do it this time. But like, if I was to make a Long Island iced tea, I was at a point where I could do it in one shot,
Right.
With
Four bottles.
with 4 bottles in one shot, push it over and knock it out. And then I got
Yeah.
to the point I'm like, yo, fuck this shit, I don't want to do that anymore.
Even if you order a
Right.
Long Island,
Even if
get
you're
out of here,
low, girl,
man.
I'm like, I'm not making that shit. Fuck that. But
Yeah.
it's it's definitely an art form.
It is. And like, I got such a thrill out of the speed of it. But then as I got more into it, I wanted a challenge. So I was like, okay, I'm an attractive young female who has plenty of stamina. So the long hours, especially in Florida, they don't really give you breaks. They don't really give you time to eat. You're getting there at 8 o'clock at night and you're working until 8 o'clock the next morning, like by the time you count your money and everything. So I was like, I'm going to go work like in South Beach. As soon as I graduated, I was applying to all the South Beach nightclubs. And I was coming in like, yeah, I work with all these obscure different liquors. I had learned how to become a mixologist when I went back to Gainesville because I was working at bars there and they let you taste everything.
Yeah.
So by tasting everything, like I learned what went together, and I was impressing these people down in South Beach at 22 when I was talking about all these different liquors that people don't effing use that they had
crazy
big
shit.
sponsorships for and stuff down there. So they were like, oh, we could send you to competitions. We can, we can make you into a mixologist. So I started doing the mixology down at the W Hotel. I was outside at the bar. And then I opened up the SLS Hyde Beach in Miami. And that shit was wild. You want to talk about shit with Miami Music Week, the pool parties, like champagne showers, beautiful people, celebrities. Like, I've never seen so many hot bodies in my life, right?
I've partied there a few times. It's awesome.
Oh, it's great, right? It's still great.
It's
It will
still
never
great.
not be great. Like, it's just, anytime anyone asks me, I'm like, I haven't been back in a minute, but that Hyde Beach is always where you got to go, right?
So that's when you started with SB, was in...
Yeah, in South Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had to take a little break because when I was on the heat, I couldn't bartend. So I was doing events. I was working Art Basel events, like all these high-end Miami Beach events, because you can't keep like a steady job when you're a dancer. So yeah, I finally saved a bunch of money working full-time for SBE out in South Beach, and I moved out to LA, and it was crickets. I could not get a job to save my life. Luckily, I had saved enough. But yeah, it's very, very competitive out here. And
Cutthroat.
It's all relationship out here, even like outside of acting, even in the nightlife world. It's very relationship and not resume. So I had to start making those relationships. And I saw Emerson, and I just went in there and I bugged them every weekend for like a month and a half. Until finally one day they were like, actually, we need a female bartender.
And it was the best decision they ever made.
That's awesome, because that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm shocked they didn't bring it. They're like, yo, you know what? We need a female bartender, because usually they have enough people, and there's enough people in the network to be
Right.
like, oh, that person's available. Let's grab that.
Well, at
Right.
that time, too, they were expanding so quickly that I think to find good bartenders, they weren't like in-house.
No.
You know what I mean? They needed those spots to fill.
And then a lot of the good bartenders actually, especially in our time frame, became bottle servers.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I can make more fucking money.
Yeah, and that's the mistake I made. Was that I came in and I was like, I'll be a bartender, and they pigeonholed me as a bartender and they wouldn't move me.
They're like, she doesn't know about the servers.
She doesn't.
She's real eager to
did
get
she-
behind the
oh,
bar.
so
What's
did
wrong
she
with her?
replace Vylana? Because wasn't Vi like Vi was like the girl bartender, and then she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the shout out Vi, love you, miss you. I'm gonna go to the floor, and then they needed to replace her. So you also had some big shoes to fill in, taking that girl's spot too.
This is what I've heard. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody loved her. I heard a lot of amazing things about her.
I still love
So-
her. She's still one of my good friends.
Yeah.
Love her to death. But
Yeah.
Well,
it's
it's cool
interesting.
because you came into your own at Emerson because you danced a lot.
Yeah, that's one of
And-
the reasons why they liked me, because they were like, well, you're going to have to get up and dance on the bar. And I was like, no problem.
Yeah. Her fucking heat uniform just comes out.
Wha-bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I was
can
just
move
like,
too.
Thanks.
You can move.
Thank
I've seen
you.
this girl dance a few times.
I used to stand right next to her.
Yes,
Fucking
that's
jaw
how
on the
I
floor.
met. That's how I met Danny. He was bartending with me.
And I also like to dance, so we were like instantly.
Yes.
So what was that like? Because I've TSA'd with Danny, but I never got to bartend with Danny. And it seemed like some fun times. So what was that like bartending with this guy over here?
I loved it. They would switch us up sometimes, and I'd have to work with the cranky bartender. Should I name him? Should I shout him out?
I want to know who.
He knows who he is.
which
No.
one?
I
Which
love
one?
him. I love him. Sean was cranky.
Sean was
always.
the
Oh,
best.
Sean, I love Sean.
I didn't say he wasn't the best. He was the best, but he was cranky.
He was definitely cranky. Well, he also was like, he was so over Nightlife at that
exactly.
point too.
But he was great
Funniest
because
dude.
he was
I used to work with him in Hyde.
hilarious.
Oh, he was so funny. The shit come out of his mouth.
And because it was dripping into stain most of the time.
Yep,
I
yep.
loved it.
Super
I
cynical
loved it.
dude. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
He was the best, but man, like when he started getting back into real estate and stuff, he lit up. So I know whatever he's doing right now, like I'm sure that he's a lot happier than he was at the bar, but we were happy to have him. Like we were a great little team and it balanced out. But I loved it when I got to bartend next to Danny because like we'd always be like dancing and hip bumping and
Yeah.
laughing and people would be like, God, you guys are so annoying.
right.
You get us two together, it's like, why are you so happy?
Yeah.
We were those people.
That's when I first started TSAing. I'm like, why is everybody just standing around? It's like, it's like a fun environment.
Yeah.
And I would dance and people would be like, they would literally hate on me.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, you understood why.
Yeah. Yeah, you get your
Yes.
soul crushed a little bit.
It's true.
But
We've all been there.
I think one of the reasons why I try to keep such an upbeat attitude is it's easier to find the fun in working those kinds of hours and the fun in what we do sometimes than it is to have a sour ass attitude. Because think about it, like even with this podcast, I was afraid that listening to it would bring me back to the dark times and remind me of the things that I wanted to leave and like, get me in kind of a funk. But what I've found through listening to your podcast is actually like we worked with some of the most amazing people. We were around, not only were they fucking beautiful, I mean, y'all were a good crowd to look at. But they were hilarious. They had the best stories. I mean, when somebody was like just not rocking it, we all found a way to like make it work. When shit was going down, they got you out of the weeds. Like they really lifted you up. And of course, there's always a bad egg. But I mean, really, when I look back on it, the best part of it was the people that we worked at. And we have a bond now. Like if we see each other out, we have a bond now that only we understand and we get because of what we've been through together. Is that a trauma bond?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go with yes, but probably the best kind of trauma bond.
Yeah, I would say that I'd take that trauma over
Yeah,
some
but
other
like
stuff.
I mean me and Danny have said this constantly on this podcast. Is like we have people who sit in this seat that we've known for so long, but we get to know in a new aspect. And
Yeah.
it's like, but it's family.
It is,
like
yeah.
we were in the trenches together, and like it's just a family feel, and we're all very grateful. And I know a lot of the people you guys are talking about that you work with at Emerson, all amazing human beings.
So good. Still some of my best friends.
It's just something about working in the service industry, if you've never been in it, that it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
It's a different type of camaraderie.
Exactly.
Very different type of camaraderie.
But I think it's even heightened when you go, especially into nightlife and like the big three nightlifes, the New York, the LA, Miami.
Yeah.
We deal with the craziest level of things. And it's like the things we've seen are incredible. And also the things that we've seen are the worst. And it's just like, I'm so grateful for all of it, even though I'm so grateful to be out of it.
Yeah.
We live in a very skewed reality.
Yeah. But it's
So-
a very lucrative
So
reality.
you got out of it. You were one of the lucky ones.
I was forced out of it.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's hard to even know where to start. Working on my feet and having the physical ability to work in nightlife is such a blessing that a lot of us take for granted. But something that we're all also not so aware of, and you guys touch on this a lot, is the physical tax and the toll that it takes on your body. I was always, as a professional dancer, I was always exercising, working out, eating healthy. I drank. We all drank. Like, it's nightlife. But I didn't drink a ton. I didn't do drugs. And still, I started to notice, like, after about 6 or 7 years, like, it was really starting to take a toll. I would throw out my back at least once a year. I also started getting bouts of vertigo for weeks on end. I don't know if you remember, like,
I
me
do.
collapsing at work. Like, the spins so bad. That's from, like, dehydration and stuff. Because you're working so fast, you're barely taking the time to drink a bottle of water, you know? But eventually what ended up happening is my intestines just out of nowhere in 2017 started twisting. And I know a couple people that this has happened to. The doctors just don't have an answer. There are a few different things that it could be, but I really believe the stress, the long hours, being on my feet, we're constantly in reactive mode. Like, that spikes up your adrenaline and it really, like, tears apart your body. So I was in bed with a mystery illness. It's very, very difficult to prove what I had with imaging. They only were able to prove it once they opened me up, and it took about 1.5 years for doctors to believe me enough to take that chance. After that, I kind of realized, as I was healing and getting better and stronger, I was like, okay, this is going to change things. So instead of going back to a nightclub, I went back to working at a dope bar on Melrose called Melrose Umbrella Company. Love that place.
So cool.
Best people, best cocktails. They got a real passion for what they do. But things move a little slower there because it's,
Yeah.
a craft place.
You worked with Ronnie, right? I
Did.
love Ronnie. Miss that dude.
I actually just went there last week for the first time, and the cocktails were incredible. The ambiance was beautiful too.
Yes. It's
a great
the
spot.
place is great, but the cocktails were phenomenal.
It's good vibes. You know it's a good place when bartenders go there for a cocktail. That's how you can judge the quality of a cocktail
It's wheelchair
place.
accessible, folks, for my disabled community.
Hell yeah.
Nice big bathrooms, good cocktails.
very good
That's all
cocktails.
you
Yeah.
need.
Very good cocktails.
I mean, I loved working there. I had a lot of pride working there because I knew that what we were providing was, like, quality, you know? I realized very quickly that, like, something was not right. And even though the pace wasn't as quick, and I mean, the holidays were pretty packed because they do, like, a special Christmas pop-up, but it was making me so incredibly sick. And I didn't even realize it because we are so used to working through, like, hangovers or working through festivals or, we kind of have a switch in our brain where we just turn it off and we just go, It's autopilot. You're still a person, but, like, all the, like, bad, you just turn it off. All the pain, you turn it off. All the exhaustion, you turn it off.
Which is a good and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much of a double-edged sword because the fact that we are able to push everything down and keep going, it's good in a sense, but also, like, that's got to come out eventually.
Yeah.
All of the stress that you pushed out, and like you said, I don't think a lot of people realize how much your mental can physically
Yes.
affect you.
Yeah. Well, your gut is an immediate connection to your brain. It's your second brain. So I think that a lot of my stress had to do with what happened to me. And then as I started working at Umbrella Company, like, there were nights where I was just, like, having full-fledged panic attacks. And I don't get panic attacks. Like, the things that I've done, there's no way that I could function with panic. And that was, like, signaling to me, hey, massive inflammation in the gut, massive inflammation in the gut. And I, like, was having such a hard time working. And then the pandemic happened. So the pandemic was great because it slowed everyone down, put everybody on my level. I'm grateful for that ability to just take some time and realize what I was doing to my body. And I think a lot of us in nightlife don't have that time given to us where we could stop. It had gotten to the point when I was working at Umbrella where I was so exhausted and sick, and I didn't even realize how exhausted and sick I was, that I was almost praying for something to happen to, like, for me to have a complication or something, just so I could go to the hospital so I could have a couple days off to rest. And that's pretty messed up, where it's just like, oh, I want to go to the hospital so I could sleep. Because, I mean, let's be real. They don't let you sleep at a hospital. They wake you up every 3 hours to ask you how you are and make sure you're not dying. So bad plan for anybody who's trying that. But yeah, it's just like now I'm in a place where almost my identity's been taken away from me because all the things that, like, financially to support myself that I could do, like, quickly, like, oh, I need to make rent this weekend. I can work a job. I'll just call some friends and see if there's anything I can pick up. I can't do that anymore. Danny, I'm sure you could relate to that. It's like something that fucks with you where you're like, all of a sudden, the person that you, like, what you bring to the table is like, you can no longer bring that energy, that spunk, instead I'm bringing nausea to the table. I'm bringing, abdominal pain to the table, exhaustion to the table. And I don't want to be the sick person. I don't want to be the person who's not capable, or like the person that you have to be careful with. So that's really effed with me mentally as a result of overworking, I think, from being in the nightlife industry.
So let me ask you this thing, because I think there's a lot of people after this pandemic really figuring out what they are. And a lot of people I talk to, the identity thing is a big crisis. Danny, I know you've talked about it in the past. It's something I'm currently dealing with on my own. What advice would you have for people? Or like, what do you do right now to help you balance that out? Because that's such a hard thing, being so ingrained in this nightlife world and being that person, and really, like you said, finding your identity in that, to have it all taken away from you. You just, you don't know which way to go.
Right. Well, one of the things I think that's really important whenever you're trying to get out of nightlife, and you know, whether or not you have an entrepreneurial spirit, or if you want to go work for something just, you know, a little more stable and less stressful, we all have to develop the most incredible set of skills in order to do what we do. So I think it's really beneficial to kind of take a look and really examine, like, what do you bring to the table besides bottles? Like, what do you bring to the table in terms of your ability to work under stress, to be a high-performing individual, to be a self-sufficient, productive individual, to take direction, to, advertise and sales. Really look at, like, what all the things that you have developed in your career in nightlife, and where you think you could place those attributes in other like career paths. I think really being honest about that, like the fact that I work really well with people and I manage people really well, has helped me kind of go into other jobs. Or with the finance thing, like, I don't have a background in finance, but I'm really good at, okay, this tequila is made in this region and this is what it tastes like, and it's best used in this kind of arena, and like picking out the key attributes. So that's helped me in my marketing. That's helped me, you know, in that world, developing, like, you know, you're trying to draw this kind of crowd, you play this kind of music. It's all like, it's very connected. So I think that the skills and everything that we have are extremely transferable to a wide array of professions and possibilities. So even though it's been taken away from you because of the pandemic or because of your health in our circumstance, you know, there's so many ways to branch out and grow. You just have to realize that it's going to be scary, and you got to be willing to take that chance. But we all take chances every day in working in nightlife.
Never thought about that.
Yeah, me neither, because I used to, being in the service industry, that's all I've ever known was service industry. Since I was like 17, I started. So when I wanted to get out of the service industry, I would tell myself, well, you don't know how to do anything else. So what are you going to do? Like, go work a regular job and look like an idiot? Like, just stay in your lane. But like what you just said is, yeah, we had multitasking skills, being, you know, a bartender, even a TSA. Yeah. There's so many different attributes that we don't think about because we think we just know this one thing.
Right. And it's not true. It's simply just not true.
And I think something you said about like the stress that comes with it, I think hospitality, nightlife, event planning is top 3 most stressful jobs in like the world. Like it's up there what we do.
Yeah.
And the level we do it at is so incredible. So it's like, yeah, man, I think the same way, Danny, like, oh, what else am I going to fucking do? But we have so many qualities and skills that I think you make a really good point that so many people in this industry don't realize they have.
Yeah. Like, think about it. If you're doing, like client management for a company where you're talking to clients and they could get a little rowdy or out of hand or try to strong arm you, all you have to do is tell your boss, like, hey, I've worked with a bunch of people who are like cracked out on Molly at Miami Music Week. I think I can handle your client who's going to get a little pissy. Like, or, you know, I sold a huge bottle of champagne and then like popped a client in the eye with it before and they still paid the tab. I think that I can handle like the hissy fit that your client's going to throw on the account. We've got it handled. You know, think about that. Like, you do, you come out of this industry with so many skills and stuff that you don't even realize that you have. And yo, I know that I sound like I'm Miss Susie Sunshine over here. I am, okay? Guilty as charged. But like, I had to go through a lot of dark places to come out this way. And it's just like, I don't have time to sit in the holy shit, like I don't have time. So like, okay, we've got a problem. What are we going to do about it? Okay, the pandemic happened. We can't work in nightlife. What are our options? You know, and if you truly want to go back to working in nightlife, because some people really they love cocktails and they love events, that's great. And there's so many things that you could do to make that work for you. But if you want to get out of it, like, you have more options than you've even considered.
Yeah.
Like, you really do. It just takes a while to really look in the mirror and see that.
I think everybody just has the idea of starting over is just so daunting.
Always.
Because we put so much time and effort into this career. But we've talked. You pointed out how we talk about the physical component, but then you just mentioned the mental component. So, like, what were some of those? And depending on how much you want to get into it, what were some of those dark moments? And like, where were you? Like, what were you feeling during those times? And how did it affect your next move? And your gut and all the gut health you had going on.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest ways that nightlife affected me mentally, especially, it didn't affect me so much when I was in Miami. It was a different dynamic, I think. But when I moved to Los Angeles, I had a huge problem with self-confidence because the people that we were working with were so beautiful. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but...
No, we talk about that a lot.
We hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, even the guys, like, both sides.
Both sides, yeah. I think a little bit more on the female side because there's more competition in that aspect.
Yeah.
But
and the things you had to wear, it's like very revealing and.
Yeah. Well, that was part of it. I had no problem with wearing the revealing clothing because having been a dancer, I realize how many layers are underneath what appears to be very little clothing. Like, we're wearing the tights, we're wearing, the boots. It's the 3/4 rule. Like, usually 3/4 of your body is covered, but you just, with the tights and stuff, it doesn't look like you are. And I kept in excellent shape, so I had no problem showing off my, fit body. But there was something about, I had worked my way up to being like this bartender mixologist, had the skills, had the reputation for what I did. And it got to a point where people were like, you're really Susie fucking Sunshine. And like, you would be really interesting if you got out from behind the bar. And that started to kind of like become my itch. Is I wanted to transition to doing the bottle service because I wanted to engage with people more. I wanted to be more involved in the party. I wanted to sell bigger ticket items. Like, yeah, I could do speed all day long, but I mean, I wanted to be given the chance to prove that I could do that too. And they would never give me the opportunity. So, I mean, every time that I tried out for 14, like, I tried out to do bottle service. I came in the bikini. I was ready to go. I knew my bottles. I knew my prices. I knew the upselling. Like, I'm very analytical. Like, when I show up, I show up. And every time they're like, we're going to have you as a bartender. We're not going to have you. It started to kind of like wear on my self-confidence because, yeah, it's petty, but I'm also a woman. Like, I'm like, what's wrong with me? Are my breasts not big enough? Am I not cute enough? Am I too intense? I know I'm intense. I can't help it. I'm a Scorpio. But like, it started to wear on my self-confidence, and I felt like I was almost acting out to get attention in other ways. So yeah, like, I just felt like when I would go out and stuff, like, it would kind of manifest as I needed to be the center of attention. I needed to be the life of the party. I needed to always show up at everything and be larger than life. And it kind of, I got to a breaking point where I just finally had to like stop for a little bit, take a break from bartending, take a break from, at that point it was events because they had closed Emerson, they had closed 14, like everything was closed. So I finally just had to like take that moment and be like, whoa, there's nothing wrong with you.
Crazy because you and I were kind of going through the same thing because I was trying to get off of the floor to get behind the bar because when I came to LA, I was already a bartender in New Orleans. I worked countless Mardi Gras, like 25 people deep, whatever.
Yeah.
So I was, the TSA thing was fun. But after like year 6, I'm like, hey, are you going to put me behind the bar? Like, I want to move up. But it was the thing that when they had somebody that they knew was solid at their job in the position, they never wanted to transition because they didn't want to lose that person there. Mm-hmm, which is like, it was good and bad because it was like a compliment. Like, okay, you think I'm the best at what I'm doing right now. so you don't want to move me. But then also you're not letting me grow in the company. So it was a hard thing to deal with. And like at Emerson, I've talked about this before. It got to a point where I was the lead TSA, but I was so unhappy that I was getting drunk before I even stepped in the building. Like I would fill my pockets with airplane bottles and be at pre-shift like already buzzing. And I was miserable. And the only reason I got behind the bar at Emerson was because someone quit. I don't remember if you met, like, I think that's maybe when you started as well. Like a bunch of people quit or got fired and they were like, well, we need people now. Let's fill a spot.
Right.
And I think they saw that I was unhappy and they were like, let's give them the shot. So yeah, it's crazy that we were kind of going through that same mental, you know, that beating that we were taking.
Yeah.
I think it's what you're showing too is like you've referred to how you're Susie fucking Sunshine, right? Like you're always positive. There are so many people out there that would come off as positive, but you would never know that they are so badly struggling on the inside. And like, yo, that's something that we really want to show out to people. Like, yo, it's okay to struggle. Yo, man, life ain't easy, especially in this industry. It's not easy. And so many people are really going through it, even if you are Susie Sunshine.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a dark day.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I'm lucky in that sense that my biggest problem was just having self-image issues.
But that's a big problem, though.
Yeah.
It can really mentally take a toll on you, and it really fucks up your confidence. Like you said, you felt like you weren't good enough. Why can't I do these things?
Yeah.
And then it kind of then moves into other parts of your life.
Right. I think it really affected my relationship because I think I hate admitting this, but I feel like I was seeking attention of my male friends, and I wouldn't say in a destructive way or in a bad way at all, but I just think I amped up the flirt because I just needed the validation at the time because I don't believe I behave like that anymore. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad because I'm like, was it a problem? Like, do I need to apologize? Like, I don't know. It makes me feel kind of guilty.
Part of growth.
Yeah.
It's understanding.
I can admit it.
It's learning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all did that. Like, who was the craziest at the party? Like, I had to be like I was always known as like the fun guy out, and when I really didn't want to, I just really was putting on that mask. I'm like, okay, I got to do something crazy so I can keep up this appearance.
Yeah, I got to fit in.
Right.
I had to be
and everybody's going through. They're thinking the same thing, but nobody shares that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there are plenty. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I would be at a party because I had to be the cool guy because of my job, and I had to be there when I'm like, and everyone's coming up talking to me, and I'm like, this is fucking miserable. I want to be in my room with the joint, reading a book.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck who's DJing. I don't give a fuck who's here. I don't care. This sucks. But if you talked to me, you thought I was having the greatest time of my fucking life.
Right.
Put my acting skills to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your anxiety's at 100, and
The roof.
then you're like drinking to like make that go away. And
I got into doing a lot of drugs to make
Yeah.
that kind of go away. But like you said, like that little thing that like, oh, you know, it's just a little thing, but then it spirals.
Yeah.
It's like the snowball effect here. Like you give it a little push. It's not that big of a deal. I feel like this. Then a couple weeks later, it's not that big of a deal. You keep repressing, and then eventually it's a couple of years later, and you're like, I got a big problem that I don't know how to get out of. And you still can't talk to anybody because I still got to keep my job. I still got to keep that facade. I still got to keep the image that everybody thinks I have.
Yeah.
Because it's so cutthroat in this industry. Once you fall off a little bit, there is somebody wants to take your job or wants to take your spot and will throw you under the bus for it in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Very interesting industry.
And then you were going through like all these emotions, and your body's not feeling well, so you just chalk it up to like the stress. Like you don't know that inside of you there's something going on.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? After you figured out, you said you went to the hospital and they cut you open, because that's a big part of your life now.
Yeah. I mean, I went to several doctors, and because I was in such good shape, even like when I was paled out, green, walking in there hunched over, they'd be like, oh, well, you look like you're healthy. So they wouldn't test me for things. And it took me a really long time to get somebody to listen to me. And then they finally ran out of tests to do on me. So they cut me open. And that's when they found that my intestine was oversized, and it couldn't fit in there at some point. It's like, you know, a balloon animal. Like you blow up the balloon. When you deflate it, it never goes back to the same size.
Yeah.
That's what my intestines were doing. So they couldn't fit in there anymore, and they were like slowly tearing my abdominal wall.
Wow.
And I thought that I just had like a pulled groin or something because I felt the pain like pushing down my leg because it was a hernia. But yeah, it was my intestines. And dude, that's affected me majorly, like when I tried going back to working in nightlife, because all of a sudden, like, the anxiety and, like, how do you push through anxiety? You could push through the exhaustion and everything.
Can't.
You guys suffer from a little anxiety now, right?
Suffer from a lot of anxiety.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, there's a point where, like, you just think that, like, you feel like the whole world's going to crash down on you and everyone's looking at you and people tell you to relax and breathe and you're like, motherfucker, I can't do it. You can't do it. And it's just like, you get one little thing wrong or an order wrong, like, you can't function. Like, there's no way to work through that. It's really detrimental. So
It's like paralyzing.
I remember
It is
being in, like,
paralyzing.
just sitting at pre-shift, and my anxiety was so bad that I couldn't wait to get behind the bar and take a shot.
Yep. I was
Like, I'm
drinking
like,
a lot.
I would, like, stare at the bar while we're in pre-shift and just hope that they don't call on me to talk about something, and just be like, okay, as soon as I get behind the bar and take a shot, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that was like becoming like a nightly thing, man. It's not healthy.
I've gotten to points, and actually it was funny, I was just out with Jasmine Vo, who was on the show a while back now. Check out her episode. She's got some great stories on there. But she introduced me to somebody and said about the time we got close, where I was working with her at the SLS Hotel, and I was her TSA, and she couldn't find me. She found me in the storage closet, crying. And she's like, yo, you got to get up. I'm like, yo, I physically can't. And what I've learned with my anxiety, is I have it severely, is that if I don't find a way to release it, it will find a way to release itself.
Yeah.
And you don't want that, because
Yep.
then it'll just shut you. Like, I physically couldn't get up. I couldn't move. I couldn't stop crying because all the emotion and anxiety that was in me just surged out in its own will. And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's like a boiling pot. Like, it'll sit there and boil for a while, and then
Well, all of a sudden
don't
you're getting like,
turn the heat down.
You don't. And then, like, the anxiety attack turns into a panic attack. And Nikki, I know you've dealt with this before, and I'm sure you have at some point. You feel like you're going to die. Your mind starts going of all the things you didn't do in your life and all the people that you're going to miss. And your chest is fucking beating so fast. The sweat's coming down, and you can't do anything.
Oh yeah, I've definitely gone to the ER thinking I was having a heart attack. Yeah.
And it's just a regular old panic attack.
Yep.
And you don't want to dope yourself up, because then you can't do your job. Can't talk to people.
Well, that's the only way we could do our job.
Yeah, because that's how we
Well, no,
dealt
I was drinking. That was
Right,
the
right.
only way that I
Yeah, a
could
lot of
do
people
it. But I, like,
self-medicate.
refused to. I couldn't take, like, a Xanax or anything to chill me out, because I wouldn't be able to function.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's downers weren't ever. We
Yeah.
would just add fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
But because
Yeah.
they ingrained in us in nightlife, like, yo, they wouldn't help me. Like, there are a couple of times I remember being at some of these fucking clubs working out and having a panic attack and being like, I need me. They're like, all right, take 5, but then get back out on the floor. I'm like, I can't. They're like, well, we have a busy night. You got to get fucking out there. What are you doing? And it's just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how my employers treat me. Got it. Okay.
That's a lot of employers, but I think that people are coming out and talking about it now. People are admitting that they're having panic attacks, that they're having anxiety issues, and I feel like a lot of employers are being forced to recognize that, like, this is a thing that they need to pay attention to. This is part of health. This is a part of providing and taking care of your employees, is also acknowledging that mental health plays a big part in our effectiveness at our job. So it is best for you to help us with it. But it's still a lot to ask in nightlife.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that it took a pandemic to really show what the actual fucking world epidemic is?
Yes.
Because, I mean, the amount of people that have came out, say they had anxiety and depression during COVID, was way more people than actually got COVID. Way more
Yeah.
people that attempted suicide is more than who actually got COVID. Like, it's crazy that we're still not fully focused on this conversation yet.
Yeah.
But that's why we do things like we do, and that's why you do things like you do. So
Yeah.
let's hear more about your newest venture that is really fucking cool, and we're super
Yeah.
proud of you for it.
Thanks. Yes, it's I started a podcast with one of my good friends during the pandemic. Basically, we sat next to each other at a wedding, and I was looking at her plate, and I was like, "Why aren't you eating your dinner?" And she looked at mine, and she was like, "Well, my intestines started twisting. It's this really weird thing, but now I can't eat certain things because I've had surgeries." And it was crazy because I was like, I'd never met anybody like that before. And here I am sitting next to her in a wedding in Ohio. And I'm like, what the heck?
You're both not eating your food.
We're both not eating our food. So it was wonderful because at the time I was going through trying to get treatment for my intestines, and she had already gotten it. Her intestine actually twisted and then ruptured, and she got sepsis. Yeah, whole story is on our first episode. She died for like 7 minutes or something, and had a whole afterlife experience, like woke up and was filleted open, like the whole 9. So she was like on the verge of death a few times, was a Make-A-Wish kid. Like, she's been through it. And she's in entertainment too. She's a newswoman in Ohio, in Cincinnati. So she was kind of talking me through at that time, because I would call her and say like, oh, these are my symptoms and I'm really worried. Do you think I should go to the emergency room? And she would logically go through all the stuff with me and be like, okay, do you feel like this? Do you feel like this? Sometimes when you're in that kind of position, speaking to your family, friends, and even your doctors can become really overwhelming, because you feel like nobody truly understands what you're going through. So luckily, having Elena there for me, I felt like I kind of had a buddy in this whole thing. And we realized, holy shit, what about all those other people out there who don't have a buddy? And so I called her and I was like, do you feel like we need to start a podcast together? Because I feel like we could really help people and bring light to very normal stuff to us, but like what isn't talked about or is considered taboo. You know, more than 40% of people in America are living with a chronic illness or disability, and we want to talk to those people, not just about what are you going through and how hard it is. We want to talk to you because we want to hear how hard it is, but what you do every day to get through it, and how you're thriving now because of like certain tips and tricks that you figured out along the way, or just admitting out loud like, hey, I have bad days. That alone can help so much. So our podcast is called Girls with Guts, or what's left of them. And yeah, that's what we're doing. We're bringing stories of illness and recovery, giving a space for people, especially if you're in the hospital going through like an ostomy surgery, or, you have a parent who's going through, something, or your friend just got diagnosed with MS. Like, we turn 30, things start breaking. So we wanted to provide that space for people. And it also helps with mental health too, because now you're like, oh my God, I'm not crazy.
You feel like you're not alone.
You feel like you're not alone.
That's the biggest thing you said, and something that we touch on the mental health side is like, we've all been through it, but we feel like nobody else in the world fucking understands it.
Yes. People don't talk about it. They're so ashamed. I can't even tell you, like, as soon as 8 months ago, I was doing a virtual red carpet interview for a film that I had done for a film festival. And they asked me what was one of the most difficult things that I experienced on set. And immediately I was just like overcome with fear of admitting it out loud. And I was like, I had my first anxiety attack on set with this film. And it was really scary. And I didn't know what was happening to my body, but other people on set did. And they took care of me and got me to a place where I could perform. And it was one of the best scenes of my life. And I was so scared. I was stuttering through the whole thing. And afterwards, I exited the interview and I was just shaking. And I was like, I can't believe I just admitted out loud that I had an anxiety attack on set. What kind of potential hire for somebody does that make me? How does that make me look as being a performer who's like, am I capable or not of doing the job? Like, oh, she got an anxiety attack because she had too many pages that day. Like, no, that probably wasn't it. It was probably a lot of other factors that came into play. But like, I was freaking out about admitting that. Why is that such a problem for us to admit out loud? And why is it such a thing to admit our weaknesses? Like,
Yeah, it sucks to feel alone.
yeah.
I mean, I think everybody deals with some type of mental issue, and
36% of the United States deals with some sort of, and that's 36% of the people that are documented.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So 1 out of every 3 people, all 4 of us in this room deal with it. But I guarantee you there's been so many people who sat in that chair who have probably dealt with it but never explored it further to realize that, oh, I do have some sort of anxiety. Whether it's onset or chemical, it exists in most people because of the fact we feel like we have to be so perfect in this society nowadays.
Right. And just tiptoeing around every little thing so that we can succeed. Really, I'm finding, especially through the podcast, is that like my vulnerability and ability to talk about what I'm actually going through and being unfiltered about it is making me feel more connected to people than I ever have before.
oh, for sure.
It's so healing talking about your stuff with other people.
It is. And if I could just help one person, the same with you guys, like if you could just connect with one person who's maybe feeling alone, maybe feeling like unheard or scared about what's going to happen, it's like, that's worth it. cheesy as it is
So
to
we,
say.
we
No, it's true though, because there's so many people out there that maybe, and this is the biggest thing I've heard from people that have given us feedback on the podcast. It's like, yo, man, I don't want to talk about my stuff. I haven't found the comfortability to talk about it yet, but just listening to you guys makes me feel like I'm not alone, makes me feel like I'm a part of something. So
Yeah.
just thank you for that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you guys for providing space too.
yeah, I know firsthand, like gut issues is something that people just don't like to talk about. I'm
Yeah.
super embarrassed about the stuff that I have to go through with the spinal cord injury.
Yeah.
So it's good that you have a platform that people can listen to and like feel like they're not alone, because it's a big thing.
Yeah. You know, that actually, it's funny that you bring that up because our Starbucks date, where you were kind of telling me about that, kind of helped motivate me to like also create space. So that I feel like that had an effect on me. Like your honesty in sharing what you're going through made me feel comfortable
Yay.
sharing what I'm going through and made
at
me
Danny.
feel encouraged to learn more about it.
See, when you're open, you never know in what capacity you're going to affect someone else.
Yeah.
Being honest and vulnerable.
Yep.
Like, I never would have known that me telling you about my shitty stories.
Expressing your physical needs of what you needed to, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I went from like having my friends would call it like I would have like a stomach of steel. Like I would eat the spiciest of spicy. I can't even look at a fucking spicy dish now.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but yeah,
I feel
I'm
your
glad
pain.
that I helped out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of eggs that we have cracked into in your many baskets.
Yeah.
I would love to hear a little bit more about the acting, because Nicole actually has been part of a lot of projects and big projects and stuff that you can find on Amazon. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited about hearing about that.
She's an awesome actress.
Oh, thank you guys.
You're great.
Thanks. You guys are great too.
Well, let's hear some about what projects you have coming out, or what are some of the last things that have been put out there that you're proud of and that you love to you want people to go check out and see.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, let me just start off by saying all the projects that I've done, I've been so blessed to be a part of because they've turned out to be just great quality projects. I feel like, especially coming out to LA, when you get started out here, it's competitive to get a non-paying student film. Like everything is just top tier competition out here. So I've been really lucky to be a part of several independent films that were just baller to work on. One of the first projects that I ever did was actually through USC. It was a TV show called Con, and it was nominated for 2 Emmys. It was incredible. Such a great job. Amy Sudo was one of the writers of that, and I'm still very good friends with her today. And she's writing everything from television to she has her own podcast, several different podcasts actually, including The Last Station, which is one of my favorites right now. And I think that like one day we're just gonna like create TV shows together. I love her so much. But one of my favorite projects that I got to do was actually with my friends from Miami and like my dance crew. We did a horror film called Pitchfork that Glenn Packard produced and directed. And that one actually has a dance scene in it before we all get whacked. So
Yes.
I like it. The horror scene when it comes to independent film is a very great like group to be a part of. Like horror fans are the best. They will watch anything no matter how terrible it is. So if you have like a movie that's like pretty good, like they just get so excited and the feedback is great. So I love like horror fans.
I love horror, dude.
Yes.
So much.
Nope, I'm
There's
afraid.
actually a film that a few friends of mine have written that I'll be like one of the main characters. So we're trying to
Yay!
get that done. But it's like a supernatural horror.
Yes.
And I read the script and it's fucking awesome.
Oh, those are so much fun.
Yeah.
I did a supernatural horror film called The Axiom, and that one we like lived in a cabin in Idlewild while
Yeah.
we shot it, and that was amazing. That's like one of the tightest casts that I've ever been a part of, and actually 2 of my co-stars are getting married next year
That's awesome.
that were in it. Yeah, they played. One of them was my brother, and then the other one was my best friend, and now they're like my brother and
I
best
feel like
friend
a
getting
bad
married.
friend because it's been on my queue for so long on Amazon. But you know,
You just get
every
caught up.
different thing has like a list of your shit that you want to
Yep.
watch. But I will watch that soon.
It's fun. You'll like it, especially
Yeah.
since like it actually plays on mental health. The monsters in the movie, they feed on the weakest minded. Yeah.
Interesting depiction of society.
Yeah. So the mentally weak start hallucinating and then kind of become like taken over and stuff. It's cool. Cool concept.
Sounds dope.
And there are monsters.
And there are monsters.
And there are monsters, like good monsters, like pretty great monsters. There's a big CGI monster at the end. It's pretty sick. I loved it. Also because I had a dope character that had a potty mouth.
Yes.
I like that.
She's so sweet.
Susie
I-
fucking Sunshine.
Yeah, I need to. Now I definitely need to
Now I
watch
need to
that.
watch it.
wanna
Y'all,
see her
I
drop
can
some
get
F-bombs.
saucy, okay? I am naturally saucy.
She is a spicy little firecracker.
I am.
She is.
But I think out of all the projects, my most favorite one, content-wise, is the one that has probably been the most successful. It's called Groupers. And the theme of Groupers is I play a young college student who kidnaps these two kids that are bullying her gay little brother. And I tie them together at the deep end of an empty pool. And I tell them that the only way that they could get out is if they go gay for each other. And it's a social experiment on homosexuality. Is it a choice or not? And just like the commentary that comes out of people watching that movie, it's a comedy. It's hilarious. I went into it thinking I'm like, ooh, kidnapper. But no, I'm an idiot.
You're the lead of that, right?
I'm the lead of
Yes.
that. And it's just hilarious because I think I'm so smart and I'm doing this for my thesis. And I'm also getting revenge on my little brother's bullies and being the protective big sister. But like the characters are all so flawed. And that's what makes it absolutely hilarious. That one is a great one to smoke to
Oh, definitely.
and watch.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'll
it's
definitely check
funny.
that out.
It's well done. Like our Mickey who shot it, he's shot like Dunkirk. He shot
Wow.
Batman. Like yeah. So it's a well done project.
And you guys won some awards, right?
Oh yeah, we won a lot of awards, and that's actually how I kind of caught the podcasting bug. Was I started going on everybody's podcasts to talk about it. And everybody was so cool and so nice. And I learned that most of them produce their podcasts from home. And I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. So I kind of like have my community of podcasters that support me. And it's pretty great.
Definitely an interesting road we've all kind of got in on this podcast realm. Because
I
honestly, I
know.
never really listened to a podcast at all until we started one. To be completely honest with you.
I love podcasts, but I hate talking. No, I'm joking.
You do a pretty
You
good
don't
job
hate
of talking,
talking.
bro.
I don't hate talking, but
Especially here.
I have the people that I should be talking with, like my mom, like those are the people that I talk the least with. Mm-hmm. And I come on here and I talk, I let all my emotions out and my thoughts with strangers most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just weird because then I go home, I'm like, I'm mute, you know?
It's wild that like being on these podcasts, it's very therapeutic.
It is.
It's therapeutic and healing for all of us to just kind of get our shit out,
It
be
is.
open, and it's like I don't hold back anymore with my shit. I'm very open to the world about like who I am, what I've been through, and it's like, yo, man, this is me. Take it or leave it. Like I don't give a fuck if you like me or not. I don't care what your thought process is of me. I'm grateful to where I'm at, and I get to talk about that here. So
Yeah.
just don't listen.
It's scary at first, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's scary at first,
Yeah.
and then you get used to it, and then you get proud of it. I think that's kind of a model for life, and just being authentic and being vulnerable,
I think it's definitely helped us all exude more confidence
for sure.
in our daily
yeah.
lives.
For sure.
One thing is being yourself. And like I put something on Instagram because I was listening to Matthew McConaughey's book.
Oh, nice.
Green Lights.
Amazing
and
book.
he said something about being cool. I was like, okay, I wanted to relax that night, so I had like the tiniest piece of edible, like the less than the size of a dime, and I was high as shit. And I don't smoke,
Nope.
so I'm like, oh man, I'm tired. Let me go to sleep. And all of a sudden, my brain was like, doot, 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 and I put on the. I'm like, okay, I need something to like take my mind off. So I put on the McConaughey book, and like I just fell into his words, and I'm like, man, you just gotta be yourself, man. Like. You're a goofy ass dude inside. Like, show the world. Who cares?
Yeah.
Being yourself, people are gonna be more receptive to that stuff, and you don't always have to try or look cool because what's cool is just being yourself and,
Yeah.
and showing what you are inside.
Exactly.
So in
Relaxing
that same
into
night,
it.
I never post shit on Instagram. I'm the worst. But that night, I was like, I need to stop trying to be cool and just be. And then
I remember seeing you post
I
that the
posted
other
that,
day.
and I'm like, people are gonna think you're dumb. No, do it. No, shut up. So I'm like going, those
That
mental
voice
battles?
inside your head.
Yes.
Yep.
So like I turned on the lights, I grabbed my phone, and I was like, okay, let me make it kind of cool and like neonish. And I went to bed, and people were like responded well to it.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Next time you should do a video of you saying it.
oh yeah, just
I want to
me.
hear it. I
like,
want to hear it in your voice. want to hear it in your voice.
I'll do a whole video of me talking to myself in different characters.
Do
Yes.
it. That'd be fucking
That'd be fun.
hysterical.
I'm sure Nicole would appreciate that one.
I
Oh,
would.
man.
I would.
But yo, let's anyways, great book, and let's stop hiding who we are and what we're feeling and what we're thinking,
Yeah.
and let it out to the world.
Just
man.
being honest and vulnerable.
This seems like a nice place to take a break.
And speaking of being honest and vulnerable, the way we like to wrap up the show, Nicole, give us your favorite nightlife story of you.
Oh, I got a good one
the
for
cackle,
you.
boy, I like that.
Ooh, she
Oh,
gotta
I
go.
got a good one for you.
Let's
You
go.
want to talk about being in the trenches with people and like the things that you do to get through the night? I was working at a really high-end property in Los Angeles that I won't name for protection of this event that happened. It was a huge party, packed with celebrities. One of the wildest nights in terms of just like the faces that I saw in there. I mean, I was bumping into everybody. It was awesome. And I don't usually get like excited by celebrities, but when every single person there is a celebrity, I accidentally bumped into Owen Wilson, and he was so Owen Wilsoning me.
Yes.
It was hilarious. I was just like, yes, this is the best night ever. And in that moment, in that high-end situation we were in, you know, they leave the door open for people to go outside and smoke. Well, this property happened to be on Santa Monica Boulevard. And when I tell you that a giant rat ran in to the middle of the dance floor, and Julian, who I was working with at the time, who was one of the TSAs, without hesitation, ran in between the crowd just as Will Smith's son started to take out a cell phone to document said rat, and grabbed the rat bare-handed, ran out the door, and chucked that fucker like a football. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
The person's PR, the party's PR person was very thankful about that.
Yes, I mean, we had Jaden Smith about to get this all documented, like, oh shit, bro, look at who came to join the party. Like, we were all like, job security, we're gonna get shut down. This is a problem. People are gonna think that we cook rat. This is an issue. You know, just like all of our jobs flash before our eyes, and Julian, without a hesitation, without missing a step, just looked like it was a choreographed dance number, came and scooped that motherfucker out of there before anybody could yell proof, and chucked it across the street.
Could you imagine being the guy driving down Santa Monica?
I just see
just a rat.
Just see it fly across his.
They're like, what the fuck?
And you look over and there's Will Smith's son. Like, where am I?
What's going
You
on?
should have seen the look on Julian's face when he walked back in. It was just like he had just killed somebody. Like, he was just like, I had to do what I had to do. And we were all like, you probably have rabies or some kind of disease. Go wash your hands and like, don't come back. Like, that was not okay.
You know, I pictured Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he, at the very end, remember when he saved the snakes
No.
from the pet store and he runs out with all the snakes in his hand? Oh my God.
No, but
don't
you'd
remember
imagine
that,
it
but
would
I
be
can
like that.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably the craziest like story from the people we were working with. It just goes to show you like how far we go to keep things running sometimes, you know?
Yep.
That's funny.
It's hard to pick out a crazy time when you're working at 14 every summer.
We have
And
plenty of those stories.
yes, and you know, the foam gets so high that it just covers the front of the bar and people have to swim through the foam to find you blind pretty much. I mean,
I blacked out in the foam one time.
oh no, that's not
Yeah,
good,
up in the
Danny.
foam.
When I came to, I was nose high foam and my phone was just in the air, like recording. So I just pictured like all this foam in a head and a phone, like recording the whole scene. And that's how I came out of my blackout. I'm like, where the fuck am I? I'm recording it. Something.
So
good
were you
must-
sleepwalking or did you black out?
Well, you know when you black out, when I black out, another person comes out and lives my life.
Oh, you mean like drinking blackout?
Drinking
You didn't like
blackout.
faint?
No, I didn't.
Oh no.
He had a Donnie
a
Gomez
functional-
moment.
Donnie Gomez.
Donnie Gomez.
Yeah, I'm sure you've encountered him a few times.
I may or may not have. Yeah. But yeah, how's that for a story?
That's a great story.
Thanks.
Nicole, give us where people can find you so they can check out your movies, your Instagram, your
Yes.
podcast. Where is it all so people can really? You're doing some great things for the world, and again,
Thank
we're
you.
really super proud of you. It's fucking awesome what you're doing to help people.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate
So yeah,
that.
plug all your stuff, please.
Yes, I'm at the Nikki D. Nicole Dambro was taken For all you people out there whose last name isn't Dambro, you just like saying it, I see you and you're ruining my life. So
Damn, bro, what the fuck?
that's right. So it's at the Nikki D on all social media. And then our podcast is at Girls with Guts Podcast. You could also find us at www.girlswithgutspodcast.com. We're available wherever you listen to podcasts, just like you guys.
Yo.
Following in your footsteps.
Nick is so proud right now.
Oh, yeah. And can y'all fire up my IMDb page? Because that helps us rank higher. And it just, honestly, it doesn't do anything for our career. It just makes us feel good. So if you could just Google my name and don't watch the YouTube video about the paparazzi asking me about Miley Cyrus, that would be great. Just skip over that one and just go straight to my IMDb page. Thanks.
Well,
That'll be the first one I watch.
If we're going to skip over that, can you tell us why we're skipping over that?
Dude, don't talk to the paparazzi when you first get to LA. It's going to end up on YouTube and you'll never be able to scrub it, no matter how many PR people are your friends. Like, it's just there forever.
Here we have Miss Sally Sunshine.
No, it's
Talking shit.
it's
on
the
Miley
worst.
Cyrus.
They put Nicole Dambro and my friend's name go to club whatever, and it's not me. It's like this girl who's like 6 feet tall wearing like jacked shoes, and it's very clearly not me. But because they had spoken to me the previous week, they just assumed I would be with him the next week. And no, like Aaron and I are just friends. We're not dating. We're not hooking up. I don't know who that girl was, but it's not me. My mom called me. Susie called me. My mom's name is actually Susie, so I'm Susie Sunshine Jr. Susie called me and she was like, Nicole Dambro, you moved to Los Angeles and in 2 weeks you've got paparazzi videos of you drunk leaving the club. And I was like, first of all, not me. Second of all, you're my mother. Look at her face. It's not me. It's not me. I'm the one that's talking about Miley Cyrus. They asked me if I could meet anybody in the history of the universe and have lunch with them. Who would it be and why? And at the time, Miley Cyrus had that kitty cat singing at the American Music Awards behind her, Wrecking Ball. And I thought it was awesome. And I was trying to be funny. And so I said, I know exactly who I want to talk to. I want to talk to that floating spaceship kitty cat from the Miley Cyrus performance at the AMAs. And was it smart? No. Is it funny? Yeah. Am I proud of it? Nah. Does it rank at the top of my Google search? Sometimes. I just try to create so much content that it goes to the second page.
That's funny. Oh my God. Yo,
I'm
Nicole,
going to check that out when I
I'm
leave
going to
here,
check
bro.
that out too. But Nikki, on that note,
Sorry.
yo, thank you so much for being on and being vulnerable and telling your story. And we wish you nothing but the best. And, you know, we're going to keep an eye out for all the things you have. Everybody go check out her stuff, her podcast. She is amazing. She's such a light. She's such a sweetheart. We are extremely grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you so
very
much for
being
having
on.
me.
Yes, we love you. It's been a great time, and I'm going to Google the stuff out of your damn bro-ness.
I said too much.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you next week on The Chaos.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Chaos Control, hosted by Mikey Tableman and Danny J. Gomez, producer and audio engineer Nick Dewar. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review on the Apple Podcasts app or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Join us next week for more chaos.